Today, you will find out who Nagorno Karabakh really belongs to from a legal perspective, based on law, based on the truth. I'm baffled by the pervasive lies which surround this question. With all of the hype around this issue, no one bothered to dive into the issue and break down what happened and what should have been done legally to see who has the law on their side. I haven't seen any videos on this subject, so today, for the first time, we will analyze the issue, and by the end of the video, we will see and have full confidence in the legal status of Artsakh, also known as Nagorno Karabakh. For the European, American, as well as Russian audiences who are not familiar with this issue, who is right here? For whom should we be rooting? Who is the aggressor? Who is the occupant? And who is defending their homeland? The typical discussion usually goes like this. Azerbaijanis say, "This is our territory. We have the documents. It officially belongs to Azerbaijan. And the Armenian forces occupied our land by force. We are trying to liberate our territories." Like Ilham Aliyev, the president of Azerbaijan, once said, "Karabakh is part of Azerbaijan." This is a historical fact, and this is based on international law. The territorial integrity of Azerbaijan is recognized by the entire world, and Nagorno Karabakh is an integrated part of our county. To this, the Armenians say that they have lived here for thousands of years, as witnessed by ancient churches and monuments, references in historical texts and sources. Like Nikol Pashinyan, the Armenian prime minister, said during one of his interviews, "When the Armenian king, Tigranes the Great, was negotiating with the Roman general Pompey, there was no country in the South Caucasus or anywhere else in the world under the name Azerbaijan." And this is where the discussion ends, because the arguments are being made on different planes. Azerbaijan is appealing to the legal side of the issue, and the Armenians are appealing to the historical truths. To an outside observer, it is important to understand who are the legal owners of Karabakh. In short, the story goes like this. During the Soviet period, there was Azerbaijani Soviet Socialist Republic, and next door was Armenian Soviet Socialist Republic. Karabakh, whether by accidental or malicious intent, was included within the borders of the Azerbaijani Soviet Socialist Republic, even though at the time the local population was more than 90% ethnically Armenian. But laws must be observed, and since it was formally included, what are you going to do? People just carried on with their lives. But then, towards the end of the 20th century, and I intentionally do not want to discuss specific years because it was a long process that we will discuss later, Karabakh declared its independence, not from Azerbaijan or Armenia, but they just said, "We are an independent sovereign republic. We have our own army, our own laws, and we have our president. Everyone just leave us alone." At the time, almost no one recognized them except for a few unrecognized countries, like Abkhazia, South Ossetia, Transnistria, and Basque Country, and a few U.S. states. It was as if Karabakh were an unrecognized republic that maintained its independence by force. This is how the situation appears to be, and this is what the Azerbaijani side is arguing. And today, we will try to answer whether Karabakh had the right to secede from Azerbaijani Soviet Socialist Republic. If we try to analyze this through the lens of international law, unfortunately we will not get anywhere, because in international law there are two principles that contradict one another. Principle 1. The right for self-determination. If on a given land there is a group of people who decide, for whatever reason, that they need their own state, through a referendum they have the right to do it. Principle 2. Opposing principle. That is called territorial integrity, which states that a country has a right to enforce the integrity of its borders and to prevent anyone from seceding. Because of this blind spot in international law, there is a great number of conflicts. Karabakh was not the first, and it won't be the last. But in the case of Karabakh, the question would not be legally unsolvable if it wasn't for one factor, and this factor is the Soviet Union. The thing is, in this debate, it is precisely the Soviet Union that had central authority, and all of these republics were full members of the Soviet Union at the time. And what do the laws of the Soviet Union tell us about this dilemma? The law is called On the Authority of Resolving Questions Related to the Exit of a Soviet Socialist Republic from the Union. So, if the local population of a republic decided to leave the USSR, surprisingly, the USSR did provide the legal right to do so. It's hard to imagine, but theoretically, even during Stalin's reign, republics had the right to leave the USSR. Of course, no one tried this due to other factors. It is this very law that was used by all of the Soviet republics where the USSR started to unravel in 1991. Using this law, the Azerbaijani Soviet Socialist Republic became the Azerbaijan, and the Armenian Soviet Socialist Republic became Armenia, as did Russia, becoming a sovereign republic. So what's up with Karabakh? Why were all the other republics recognized, and Karabakh's independence still has not been recognized? A careful listener among you may say, Karabakh was not a Soviet Socialist Republic. It was a part of the Azerbaijani SSR. Perhaps, therefore, it didn't have a right to secede. I had the same question, until I read the actual language of the law, and the law states that in those Soviet republics containing autonomous republics, autonomous regions, so-called oblasts or okrugs, a referendum shall be held separately for each autonomous jurisdiction. The nations living in autonomous republics or autonomous jurisdictions reserve the right to an independent resolution of the question of membership in the Union of Soviet Socialist Republics, the existing Soviet Socialist Republic, as well as on the question of legal status of self-governance. And yes, Karabakh was exactly that, an autonomous republic within the Azerbaijani Soviet Socialist Republic. Therefore, based on this law, Karabakh had the same authority to separate from the Union as all the other republics, including Armenia, Azerbaijan, and Russia. So then why didn't anyone recognize it? Let's look at how everything unfolded year by year. In 1987, KNAR, Nagorno Karabakh Autonomous Republic, voted on the necessity of the unification of NKAR, Nagorno Karabakh Autonomous Republic, with the Armenian SSR, Soviet Socialist Republic. 80,000 signatures were collected. In the beginning of 1988, on February 20th, during an extraordinary session of national deputies of NKAR, Nagorno Karabakh Autonomous Republic, made the decision to appeal to the Supreme Soviet Council of the Azerbaijani SSR and the Armenian SSR too. Show a sense of deep understanding of the aspirations of the Armenian population and resolve the issue of transferring the NKAR from the Azerbaijani SSR to the Armenian SSR. So, in the beginning, they did not want independence, but wanted to join Armenia. But on June 13, 1988, the Presidium of the Supreme Soviet of Azerbaijani SSR categorically rejected the pleas of the Armenian population of NKAR, Nagorno Karabakh Autonomous Republic. In a month, on July 12, 1988, the 8th session of the National Deputies of NKAR declared the withdrawal of NKAR from Azerbaijani SSR. So, you see that already in 1988, Karabakh legally, based on the letter of the USSR law and following the procedure set by that law, left Azerbaijani SSR Soviet Socialist Republic. And here we need to understand that all the subsequent rejections by Azerbaijani SSR do not have legal grounds because a year earlier, in 1987, a referendum was held, and any bans from the Azerbaijani SSR did not matter at this point. In 1991, the Soviet Union begins to unravel, and one by one, every Soviet Socialist Republic leaves the Union in accordance with the very same law we discussed earlier, and the very same law NKR used to leave Azerbaijani SSR, Soviet Socialist Republic. And no other country was asking for permission. All you had to do is hold the referendum, and you're good to go. On September 2, 1991, Nagorno Karabakh declared itself a sovereign republic, but still in the USSR, and no longer was an autonomy within Azerbaijan. This happened. In response, Azerbaijan issued a law on the dissolution of the Nagorno Karabakh Republic to the Azerbaijani Republic on November 26, 1991. Obviously, this law had no backing because there was a supreme law of the USSR, which allowed autonomous republics, autonomous regions to withdraw and become self-governing republics. Consequently, on November 28th, the November 26th decision was declared to be in violation of the Constitution of the USSR by the Committee of Constitutional Oversight. Because the autonomy of the Armenians of Nagorno Karabakh was a manifestation of the right to self-determination by a national group, the dissolution of the formation is only possible through the will of said national group. The situation is quite complex. By that point, Azerbaijan had already left the Soviet Union and had become an independent country. However, since Nagorno-Karabakh's exodus from Azerbaijani SSR predated Azerbaijan's independence, it was, at this point, not a part of independent Azerbaijan. It continued to be a piece of the Soviet Union, landlocked within another country. You understand? For this reason, it was not subject to the laws of independent Azerbaijan. It was still subject to the general law of the Soviet Union. It is for this reason that the Soviet Union, which still existed at this point, prohibited Azerbaijan from meddling in the affairs of Nagorno-Karabakh. On December 10, 1991, another referendum was held in the Nagorno-Karabakh Republic. This time, it was about the exit of Nagorno-Karabakh from the USSR, like all the other republics. This law was used again. The first time it was used to break away from the Azerbaijani SSR, and it was used again to break away from the USSR. The law considers both possibilities, and both of these actions were legally sound. Over 82% of the Nagorno-Karabakh population voted in the second referendum, and 99.89% voted in favor of withdrawing from the USSR. On January 6, 1992, a little after the new year, the Supreme Council of the Nagorno-Karabakh Republic adopted a declaration of independence of the Nagorno-Karabakh Republic, thereby having legislatively consolidated both the result of the referendum and those previously adopted legal acts in which the right of the people of Nagorno-Karabakh to self-determination was realized. That's how the story goes. Let's summarize. In 1987, the very first referendum is held, in which the people ask to transfer Nagorno-Karabakh Autonomous Republic from the Azerbaijani SSR to the Armenian SSR. In 1988, the USSR approves the withdrawal of Karabakh from the Azerbaijani SSR and the unification with the Armenian SSR. While Azerbaijan was against this, their position had no legislative backing. In 1991, Nagorno-Karabakh declares a republic within the USSR, which Azerbaijan rejects. And in December of 1991, Nagorno-Karabakh Republic declares independence from the USSR and becomes an independent republic. And now I ask you, at what stage did Karabakh break any rules? Did they break any international rules, or rules of the country in which this was all happening, the USSR? At no time did this happen. All the actions of Nagorno-Karabakh were done entirely in accordance with the letter of the law of the Soviet Union, and not in conflict with international law. So why did no other country recognize Nagorno-Karabakh Republic? Based on the letter of the law, if we do not recognize Nagorno-Karabakh Republic, then we should not recognize the dissolution of the USSR. All the Soviet Socialist republics withdrew from the USSR using the exact same procedures and legal basis. For some reason, they were all recognized as independent republics, but Karabakh was not. Therefore, what is currently happening there is purely an act of aggression by Azerbaijan against another state. So now, it is not even important who lived there for centuries, whose churches stand there. What's important is that de jure, this territory is an independent state. And the fact that no other country recognizes it, something which Azerbaijan likes to point out, doesn't really matter. Van Gogh was not recognized during his life, but that doesn't mean that he was not an artist. It's one thing for someone to recognize you, but it's another thing that legally, by facts, and based on the truth, you are that thing. This is the same. Just because no one has recognized Nagorno-Karabakh Republic, that does not mean that it does not have the right to recognition. As we found out, It does. It has the same rights as any other post-Soviet country. When someone tells you that Armenians occupied someone else's land and that Azerbaijan is fighting to liberate its land, just send them this video. And the main argument of Azerbaijan in this war immediately evaporates. Nothing is left out of it. If countries start to recognize the independence of Nagorno Karabakh, this war will end. This might be the only way to stop the horrible bloodshed on both sides. It's obvious that the Armenians will not leave these lands. They really have lived there for centuries. But even this does not matter legally. But it really is their land, I can tell. I have been there and I have seen all these things. I have seen all these churches. I have seen these lands. They really are ancient Armenian lands. And people will never leave these lands under any circumstances. The only sane and civilized way to stop the bloodshed is to finally recognize the independence of Karabakh, or Artsakh, which did everything legally and based on all procedures, and to force Azerbaijan to withdraw their attack and to calm down.